Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. We were discussing the Luria Delbruck experiment, if you remember. In the previous video, we discussed the setup of the experiment, how the Luria and Delbruck set up their experiment. Now it's time to uh, explain. Now, as we have seen in the previous video, that there were uh, two parts of the experiment. One was a large flask in which bacteria were grown, that was a homogeneous mixture of bacterial cells. And then there were 20 separate tubes, and in each tubes, bacteria were allowed to grow E. coli bacteria, and those bacteria of each of the tube were separate, independent of each other. Whereas, whereas in the large flask, that was a homogeneous mixture of all the bacteria. Now, bacteria were taken out, as we discussed yesterday, from the large flask and spread in equal amounts on the petri plates, petri dishes, 10 petri dishes. And bacteria from the 20 tubes were also taken out in the same amount, same number, and they were also spread on 20 plates. And they were given a certain incubation period, certain time to grow to form colonies. Obviously, since a very high percentage of T1 bacteriophages were also present in those petri plates, only those bacteria would form colonies which become resistant to T1 bacteriophage. Those cells of the E. coli who are not resistant to T1 bacteriophage would die and colony formation would not occur. So when the incubation period was over, the colonies present on the plates were counted, and now it's time to deduce something, the result, the experiment rationale for distinguishing between the two hypotheses. So if you remember, we know that there were two hypotheses: adaptive mutation or random mutation. And now it's time to find out about the results of the experiment. The experimental rationale for distinguishing between the two hypotheses, adaptive versus random mutation. So let's take a look at the first hypothesis, the adaptive mutations. So if mutations occur adaptively, that is in response to T1 bacteriophage, uh, every E. coli cell that is being grown on the T1 containing growth medium would have a constant probability of acquiring a mutation. Since if uh, the mutations occur adaptively in response to bacteriophage, so there was equal chance that almost all bacteria or a constant number of bacteria in various plates would give rise to resistant T1. Therefore, the number of resistant colonies would depend only on the number of E. coli cells and the bacteriophages present. How many bacteriophages are present in each plate and how many E. coli cells? So it would the number of resistant colonies would depend upon these two factors: E. coli, number of E. coli, and number of bacteriophages, because uh, the bacteria would mutate in response to T1 bacteriophages. since there was a constant number of cells of both E. coli and constant number of T1, constant number of resistant colony from plate to plate and from experiment to experiment. However, this was not the case. But if the mutations occur randomly and not affected by the presence or absence of, then mutation leading to resistance would occur at very low rate, and they might take place, or the mutations might occur at any time during the incubation. What is incubation? When Luria and Delbruck uh, took bacteria from the culture medium from the large flask and the 20 tubes, and they were allowed to grow on the petri plates. The time the bacteria were given to grow on the petri plates was the incubation period. Now, if mutations are random, now the mutation would occur both in the presence and in the absence, because they are not adaptive, they are not in response to bacteriophages. Uh, Now, there are two chances of the mutation. If mutation occurred early in the incubation process, then we would get a large number of resistant colonies. And if mutation occurred later in the incubation process, for example, we allowed the bacteria to grow for 1 hour. During that 60-minute period, if mutations occurred in the early 5 or 10 or 20 minutes, then we would get a large number of resistant colonies when the incubation period of 60 minutes was complete. But if mutation occurred later in the incubation, say in after 50 minutes or after 55 minutes, then we would get a very small number of resistant colonies, fewer resistant colonies. Now, the random mutation hypothesis says that number of resistant, since these mutations are not in response to bacteriophages, now this mutation may occur anytime and in any number of cells. So obviously, they are not, their number may not be constant, and the number of resistant colonies would fluctuate in different petri plates from tube to tube, from experiment to experiment. So we have two experiments, one with a large flask, the control, and other independent culture tubes, reflecting the various varying times at which the resistance mutations occurred in the liquid culture. Whereas in the now in each tube, we have seen that the number of colonies was different. In some of the petri tubes, petri plates, the number was greater, and other it was smaller. However, since the large flask contained a homogeneous mixture of both resistant and susceptible cells, they produced a relatively constant number of resistant colonies, constant number of resistant colonies from plate to plate. Now, these are the actual results of Luria and Delbruck. As you can see, we have three columns in this table. The left column is simply the sample number, so from 1 to 10. The middle column, which says same culture control, these are the colonies uh, that were formed, the number of resistant colonies from the bacteria which were taken from the large flask, the homogeneous mixture. So as you can see, from 1 to 10, the number of colonies are almost the same. There is a slight variation. As you can see, we have mean and the standard deviation at the bottom. Now the right column, the third column, as you can see, the number of resistant bacteria is quite different in different petri plates. The third column is from the culture tubes. Since they were growing independently of each other, as you can see, if we read out from the top to bottom, so in the first sample we have 6 resistant colonies, in the second we have 5. As you can see, we have very varying number of 6, 5, and in this particular we have 10. So it's very large number. Uh, then in the fourth we have only 8. In the fifth we have 24. And as you go in the Petri plate number 7, we have very large number of resistant colonies, 165. So as you can see that uh, in all these which were taken from the independent tubes, the random mutation occurred totally independently of each other and also independent of the number of T1, as the T1 cells were present in equal number in all these culture tubes. So as you can see, we have this mean, the average of these values, and this is basically a statistical value, the standard deviation. Standard deviation is the variance or how different is these values from the mean. So mean is 26.2 and the standard deviation, as you can see, it is 2178.0. So it is quite different from the mean. So standard deviation is very large. Whereas in the control experiment, you see the mean is 16.7 and the standard deviation is only 15, which is quite near. So why we have the same number of cells in these colonies, uh, resistant colonies in these Petri plates taken from the large, because that was a homogeneous mixture containing the same number of cells, whereas they are independent cultures. So obviously this experiment of Luria and Delbruck very efficiently demonstrated that mutations mostly occur randomly and independent of the selective pressure or independent of the uh, adaptive pressure. As you can see in this diagram, which is basically diagrammatic, however, it is telling you the results. Now, these are the control. As you can see, the number of dots in each Petri plate is almost the same. That means that since these cells were of similar kind, so they have produced similar number of resistant colonies. These plates were taken from the independent tubes. As you can see, the dots which are appearing in, as you can see, there is no dot in this particular, and there is no resistant colony in this Petri plate. Where in some of the Petri plates the number is very large. So it clearly tells us in the random mutation, and in others the number is very small. As you can see, 2 in here, 1, and there are 3, only 3. The experiment is over and we explained various details of it. So you are welcome if you have for discussion in our YouTube channel, and you can comment on it, and you have any questions you are free to ask. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.